So recently, I woke up thinking about a racing series that was just world class. And of course, it is the GP2 series. It's probably one of the best feeder series racing classes that was ever in existence. And I'm sure a lot of us that have watched motorsport for a long time, especially the Formula One feeder series, can relate and say GP2 was class. But for a lot of people that didn't really know about it, well, it was simply like this. Formula One feeder series that ran from 2005 to 2016. This was basically a young driver's final step on their way to the Formula One World Championship, and it was replacing the long gone Formula 3000. This was a series that was formed by Bruno Michel and supported by the then Formula One Supremo, Bernie Ecclestone. Of course, this series was a single spec series, which meant that all the cars were the same, because in this time, GP2 series used to use V8 engines provided by Renault, the tires from Bridgestone at the time, and then Pirelli. And it was basically as Formula 2 is right now, with a feature race and a sprint race. The sprint race being shorter and the feature race being the longer race and longer laps. And of course, as said before, it is basically Formula 2 in the modern day. And of course, GP2 was a series that produced a lot of talent, the same way Formula 2 is doing right now. But for its time, it went on to produce a lot of notable names that a lot of us are very familiar with. The first being Nico Rosberg. Yes, the Monaco-based YouTuber who once drove in Formula One, first for Williams, then for Mercedes, who beat Lewis Hamilton in Eco Machinery in 2016. Yes. Oh, and while we were speaking about Lewis Hamilton, he was the next one to win a GP2 title in 2006, and then the next year went and stormed the Formula One grid. 2009, Nico Hulkenberg. Yes, he is still there and without a podium, sadly. 2011 was Romain Grosjean. He had multiple F1 podiums, survived probably one of the scariest accidents in Formula One history. 2014, we had Julian Palmer, a brief F1 career, probably a year or two, and is now a commentator. 2015 was the quite infamous Stoffel Vandoorne, who raced for McLaren and now is in Formula E. And in the last ever year of the GP2 series, somebody we know very well, and that is Monsieur Pierre Gasly, who was racing for Prema, won the championship, went to Formula One, and has won a Grand Prix with AlphaTauri, and is now racing for Alpine. When the GP2 series was first introduced, they were running the Dallara GP2/05, the first ever GP2 car, which was introduced in 2005, and this was ran until 2007. 4-liter naturally aspirated Renault V8 engine, which used to produce 600 horsepower, which is quite a lot, and a 6-speed sequential paddle shift gearbox, which was basically F1 back in the day, and well, designed by Dallara, with the engines being from Renault, as mentioned, of course. And these things actually were quite fast, because they were also small as well, from 0 to 100 in just 2.9 seconds, and had a top speed of 320 kilometers an hour, 199 miles per hour for all those Americans out there. And this was the era, of course, of Lewis Hamilton, Nico Rosberg, and Nelson Piquet Jr. And its legacy was known for close racing, being extremely loud, which was basically summing up the whole GP2 series era, and they described it as a mini F1 experience. On to the second generation of GP2 cars, which was the Dallara GP2/08, which was between 2008 to 2010. And there were some new features on this car: revised aerodynamics for improved downforce and to improve overtaking, and some better crash safety and tire management. So On this one, we had a lot of, well, notable drivers, but I shall mention three: Giorgio Pantano, Nico Rosberg, Sergio Perez, and the GOAT himself, Pastor Maldonado. Wow, what good days. And then we move on to the third era of GP2 racing, the Deletraz GP2/11. Now, this was the era where I could go on for days talking about it, because this was my favorite era. It was the era I actually started watching GP2 around 2014, somewhere there. And this was the era that went from 2011 to 2016. Still the same 4-liter Renault V8 engine, but this time the tires were provided by Pirelli because of Formula One's changes from Bridgestone to Pirelli as well. The aerodynamics of these cars were more aggressive, and these cars actually looked a lot similar to how F1 cars looked in 2009 and 2010, with the shark fin and, well, the long noses. And of course, some improved safety, example given being the side-back structures, better compatibility with newer style F1 tracks, and of course, higher performance. There was a point where these cars could have even been faster than the slowest or most average Formula 1 car on the grid. And well, these cars were still quite fast. They could still go 320 kilometers an hour. And well, this was the era, as I have said again, that I loved a lot, loved the most actually, because well, such a great noise. And the thing that I loved the most about this GP2 era was the amount of fantastic liveries that were there. GP2 had so many great teams. I could give an example of Prema. Prema had some very wonderful liveries, of course, just like Pierre Gasly and Antonio Giovinazzi. Their cars looked a bit different, but I mean, even in F2 nowadays, that is exactly how it is. You also had Dams, who had some pretty good liveries. So many good liveries, so many good drivers. I nearly forgot about Campos. Campos had probably one of the best liveries out there. Carlin as well. I shall not forget about Carlin. They were brilliant. And I mean, that was a beautiful era. A lot of fast drivers as well. Very good times. And this was the era where you had drivers like Romain Grosjean, Stoffel van Dorn, Pierre Gasly. The list goes on. I could go on for hours talking about this era until it came to 2016, where they wanted this championship to be similar to Formula One, to the point where they even had to change the name and a whole rebrand until it was named to the Formula 2 World Championship in 2017. But a lot of us legends will not forget how good GP2 was in its prime. I think a lot of F1 fans who didn't enjoy especially the V6 era, well, were really looking forward to watching a Formula 2 race, rather GP2 as it was called back then, because these cars used to sound fantastic. The racing was brilliant as well. And I mean, you couldn't complain about it. I mean, it was basically one of the favorite parts of the weekend, together with the GP3, which deserves its own video, as we do not want to put GP3 in the shadows. But I am just lucky to have been one of those fans to have witnessed GP2, especially where there's so many new fans coming into the sport. Well, GP2 was a different kind of era. Amazing. So many great talents, and a lot of these champions of GP2 did become champions in Formula 1 as well. Rosberg and Hamilton as examples. Thank you guys so much for watching, and if you did enjoy this one, please remember to hit the like button. Let me know what you think about this series, this former racing series, in the comments below, and anything else you have to say. And if you want to see more nostalgic throwbacks just like this, remember to be subscribed to the channel. And from me, that's all I have to say. Thank you for watching.